Hello and welcome to the show. This week's FailRace versus the community, we were to go racing with A-class cars that were worth 1 million credits and upwards. The first race was at the Road Atlanta circuit, and my very lightweight Porsche absolutely flew off the line. I came from about 5th on the grid to the lead. By the time we got to the first corner, the 718 had less than 300 horsepower in this thing, but it weighs so little that the acceleration is absolutely phenomenal. I'd very much built mine as get as much power parts in it as I can and then squeeze on a couple of handling upgrades. It was a bit of a scary one to drive, I will be honest. Was not the easiest car I've ever built, but very, very fast when you got things right. As a Ferrari in third goes very, very sideways through shots. There are a couple of other Porsches around, and as you can imagine, the field on the opening lap is always a rather busy one as everyone tries to kind of adjust themselves and sort out their positions. There was a little bit of an off from cars up ahead running wide out of the final corner. Everybody doing a good job of avoiding the shenanigans, but everyone's now sort of diving every which way into the first corner. The California's made up some positions. The California had so much straight line speed, but absolutely nothing in terms of handling. Was slithering around far more than my Porsche. Porsche we're following at the moment gets passed by a Fiat 8V up the inside at the top of the hill. The 8V is a difficult car to build, certainly up to sort of A-class. They tend to be a little bit of a handful around here, but this one was making a little bit of progress. You can see the field was, there was a big group of cars for a while in the middle of the pack. As I mentioned, this California was a rather monstrously fast car in a straight line. Horrendous through the corners. There was just no grip from the vehicle. Almost every time you saw it going around a turn, it was sideways and barely in control. Tried to have a go at the 250 Testarossa, couldn't make it work. The GTO very nearly got past him going on the main straight. However, thanks to an Enzo V12, the straight line speed was rather immense. It breezes past Testarossa and past the 250 LM, and all in the space of that back straight. It's not necessarily a particularly good way to go for Road Atlanta. Well, yes, there is a long straight. It wasn't as fast as us running at the front. It certainly was spectacular, though. This car was making it a little bit difficult as well for some of the vehicles around it. It tries, in the end, thinks better of that one. You're not going to go around the outside of the final corner, not with a Ferrari with that little grip. You're just not going to make it work. The Testarossa briefly got alongside and then got dropped before they ever got to the first corner. Again, the Testarossa having a look, but it is an awful lot of speed in the California, just not quite enough control. At the front end there was a fantastic battle going on for the lead between my Porsche and a 250 GTO. The Porsche, a little bit better acceleration, a little bit better straight line speed. The Ferrari better through the turns though, and it worked out to be relatively even. I had to dive up the inside, bounce my way across a curb, had a very poor run onto this straight. However, quickly the Porsche acceleration comes in and I would manage to regain the lead. The problem is the Porsche is quite scary when it comes to the bumps. The car lifts up. The front end lifts up as you come around this sort of crest, makes it very difficult to get the braking sorted out. You have to have a lift around that corner, whereas a lot of the other cars don't have to, despite the fact that I have got so much speed. The Ferrari has a go at the outside around the first part of the chicane, puts him on the inside for the next part. I'd hoped to manage to outdrag the car before we got to the final turn. I couldn't do it, and again, much as we saw with the California, I'm not going to hold it around the outside there. The 250 is too good through the turns for me to get away with that, so I have to yield and fall back into line for now. Further back, and the field did spread out a little bit more in this race. There wasn't actually a huge amount of overtaking going on in the mid-pack after a little while. You see a couple of cars fighting up ahead. This California managing to outdrag the Fiat 8V down the main straight. But after a few laps, everybody kind of just settled in to their places. California trying to get a really good run through the final turn. Just ran a little too wide on the entrance, stuck a wheel on the grass. That is not a place that you want to be putting your car out there. It's a pretty nasty turn at the best of times, let alone when you put a wheel on the grass. That will tip your car sideways and will cause you no end of problems. At the front and still, we were racing hard for this lead. The GTO still leading the way. I was trying to get as good a run as I could onto this main straight, and sure enough, I managed to duck out of the slipstream again using all of that acceleration. It is a very, very quick car, this Porsche. However, I wasn't quite as... I had to come from quite a long way back to get the move done. The Ferrari was right there once again with almost a carbon copy coming down towards the chicane. Ferrari going to the outside for the first part. That puts you on the inside for the next part. This time, though, I get a much better run with the Porsche. I can carry the speed, get that drive out of the turn that will put me ahead. That's what I was trying to do the previous time. Didn't quite work out that one. That time around, though, far, far better. The 250 GTO really pushing it through that final corner, but a little too far back again when I can make the most of the acceleration. The other Porsche was having issues with a very, very fast California. Was not really able to, kind of got sort of stuck up in this bit here. Was not really able to make the most of his handling because, well, there was a very slithery Ferrari ahead of him, and then as soon as he got to a straight, said Ferrari would absolutely vanish away. So, yeah, it's not very often you have a handling car held up by a speed car in such a way as this, but yeah, the poor Porsche was having troubles. That California was so stupendously fast down this long straight. I mean, the Porsches were not slow cars down here at all by any means, but you can see the gap that it's made, and then it's terrifying trying to get it slowed down. At the front, as we were coming towards the end of the race, I was leading the way with the Porsche, but still under huge amounts of pressure from the GTO. We were both absolutely pushing the cars as hard as we could, and we were fighting quite considerably. You see in the background, 250 LM was catching up. It could have been a very interesting three-way battle between all of us. We had very similar sort of lap speed had the LM not fallen off the road quite early on, as yeah, we were all very, very, very evenly matched. As we come up towards the top of the course for the final time, I go very defensive, run a tad wide. I think I had a wheel on the curb. The Ferrari seizes opportunity, dives up the inside. It doesn't really bother me too much there. I don't have to go super defensive around there because I know once again as we come down this straight, I have the acceleration. My suspension gets all scary coming across the crest. I have a wheel on the grass, doesn't matter. I keep my foot down, I get the place. Unfortunately, disaster would strike as we come across the crest. I'm going to have to lift. The Ferrari tries to go around the outside, just tags the grass. The tiniest touch on the grass on the outside, tips his GTO sideways, clonks the side of my Porsche, and at those sort of speeds, we're talking 150, 160 miles an hour. Well, the Porsche ends up upside down, and that was the end of my 718. I managed to get it up, couldn't find a gear, have to kind of just leave it there. Fortunately, bright orange Porsche is quite noticeable. Everyone did a great job of avoiding my very stricken car. It was a real pain getting it moving again. A sad end to what would have been an absolutely fantastic race. It's just one of those racing incidents that can happen, especially with cars like these that are so difficult to drive. And yeah, that meant that it would be the 250 LM that would go on to take victory. I spent pretty much the entire race in third. As I said, there could have been a really rather fantastic three-way battle between all of us had he not fallen off the road earlier. But yeah, he would claim a victory as we trip over one another. I think the 250 GTO did manage to crawl to the line in second. Another 250 LM would get third, and I think California's got fourth and fifth. Very Ferrari-dominated opening race this one. I managed to just about crawl my car to the line, about 14th place at the end of that one. Disappointing, but I had a lot of fun. And next race, we went to the Silverstone GP circuit. I started further down the grid this time. Still, such a phenomenal launch from this little Porsche. I hugged the outside. I got to second by the first turn. A California was up ahead as everybody else filters through these opening corners. I'll have a dive up the inside. And again, I think I was around 8th or something starting this race. Again, the little Porsche managed to make its way to the lead of the race in just a couple of corners. The launch, the acceleration from this car is absolutely phenomenal. You can see the size of the gap that I managed to make just in these first few corners. Yeah, I liked my Porsche, especially off the line. It got such a good start. This 250 GTO was having some problems with a whole host of Shelbys trying to find ways past. This particular GTO was a very, very good handling car. Was trying to cling on to second place at this early stage. Problem was, it just had absolutely no straight line speed, and while through some of the twistier sections could fend off the Shelbys, even make the odd good manoeuvre here and there, they had so much more of the straight line speed that over the course of the lap they were just that little bit quicker, and certainly running wide isn't going to help you through. There's two Shelbys trying to get up the inside. They can't quite do it. The black car loses a position to the white Shelby. He comes flying past again, has got more acceleration, can get ahead of the Ferrari before they ever even get to Maggots and Beckett's as we round these next corners. This is where the 250 GTO comes into its own. It is quick through here, but there's just nowhere to go through that particular section. A Porsche is joining in. Porsche managed to sneak away past the Shelby and gets alongside the Ferrari and will out-drag him as they come down the back straight. Sorry, the poor black Shelby has not been able to find a way past this 250 GTO. He's now fighting with yet another Daytona as they round the next corner. Still can't get his car quite alongside. He's got the better acceleration, but now he's forced to go the long way around. He's on the outside, locks a brake, runs wide. The white Shelby, though, is a little too far back to try anything. It doesn't quite have the grip through these turns. Further back, and it was all going on as well. Back here, a couple of cars having some understeer, running a bit wide out of that final corner. This 250 LM flies up the inside of just about everyone down towards this first corner, sneaks his car past another one of the 250s. Mercedes is run himself wide out of that corner. It's quite a nasty turn, especially on the opening laps, trying to judge everything right. 250 LM here tries to go to the outside of the Jag. Nope, that's not going to work. The other car sneaks his way up the inside. I think there's a little bit of bumping between them. It was all rather hectic here at Silverstone. It was getting even hecticer. This was over, I think, from about 5th place backwards. These lot were a huge group of some of the most expensive cars you'll ever see racing one another. Again, up towards Maggots and Beckett's. This Maserati spots his opportunity to get alongside a Ferrari. There's a little bit of a touch between the pair of them. The black Shelby still hadn't found a way past the 250 GTO. Stuck following through here. Maserati gets to the inside. In the end, I think the Ferrari gets forced out a little bit too wide. That allows the Shelby to get past as well. There's still a great big group of cars up ahead fighting for position. And I have to say, these vehicles are not necessarily the easiest cars to drive. In A-Class, you can certainly get quite a lot of power in them. They're often very, very light, and, you know, all of them are classic racing cars. Not the most modern of vehicles. They can be quite a pain, but there was an awful lot of these large groups fighting. Certainly in the early stages of some of these races. The 250 GTO gets a bit squeezed across the curbs, a little bit of a bump between the pair of them. In the end, they both come out of it all right. The Maserati managing to make the place stick, even with a bit of a slide around that final corner. I was in a rather similar situation once more at the front of the field. I was trying to defend, this time from a Shelby Daytona. Again, my Porsche had a huge amount of straight line speed and fantastic acceleration. But around the corners here, it was in trouble. At Road Atlanta, being fairly evenly matched for lap time between me and the Ferrari. Here, I was struggling against the Daytona. It was just so much faster through the corners. But I was putting up a fight, and I wasn't going to let him find a way past easily, despite the rather slidey nature of the Porsche. I was having to try and make up as much time as I could in the acceleration zones. But yeah, it wasn't long before the Shelby was right behind. You can see how much of a twitchy thing the Porsche was when things went that a little bit wrong. This Ferrari 330 P4 made up a position, spotted a 250 out of line, a little bit wide. He'd go past the 250 LM, would come through as well. Now he's streamed down yet another straight. The 250 LM proved to be a pretty fast car down here, trying to get to the inside. The GTO fires himself up the inside, quite a long way back. The brakes on that thing were phenomenal. Gets it stopped, can't quite get a move done there. Doesn't really matter. Said Ferrari's got so much grip, going to try to go around the outside of the next turn. That is a really long way to go around the outside of another car. And while the GTO has good grip, it's not quite got enough to make that one stick. And then we're on another acceleration zone. The P4's got better acceleration. Shelby Daytona's joining in the fun, getting up the inside. The 250 goes for a big dive up the middle of the pair of them, manages to make it stick on the P4, but can't quite do too much to fend off the Shelby. Now the P4's coming back with the acceleration off of the turn, but yeah, it's a little bit, especially if you don't have an amazing handling car, it's a little bit scary going for dives up the inside towards Maggots and Beckett's. It's a very, very fast section of track. Not very much room to get cars too wide through, as the Shelby was finding out. Still, I was fending off this Daytona. He could not find a way past the very, very slidey Porsche. He gets a great run down the back straight. He's on the inside, but it's no match for the acceleration of the Porsche. I could just about fend him off every time we came to a straight, but I had to be careful. You can only fend off for as long as you don't make mistakes, and sure enough, I'm out wide at the top of the course with a big slide from the Porsche. That would put the Shelby up into the lead. I'm still looking, though, if I can have a dive up the inside into the next corner. I said the brakes on the Porsche were pretty good, and sure enough, the Shelby makes a mistake, having just got to the lead, runs the car wide, and that would give me the lead straight back again with a very sideways action around the final turn. That's not good, because another Porsche, much more handling orientated Porsche, was now right up alongside. I can out accelerate him down towards turn 1, but I can't out turn the little car. He's got himself to the inside, and he would take the lead with a couple of errors from both me and the Shelby. It was, again, another fantastically fun race here up at the front. I thought about having a dive, I just wasn't quite close enough, but we've got another straight coming up. The trick with the car was not to panic too much, and yeah, just wait for the straights. I know where my car was going to be quick, and the other Porsche did not have the straight line speed that I had in mind, so it was get a good exit, even with me bouncing across the curves. It wasn't the best of exits, it was a good enough exit, though, to get myself up the inside. We're both pushing the cars massively under brake. You can see the back end of my car was letting go. He tried to carry so much speed, he's out wide. We're both fighting our little Porsches. The Shelby's back behind us, watching. Unfortunately for the poor white Porsche, he gets a twitch of oversteer right at the wrong moment, ends up in the gravel trap. I got lucky with just about getting away with where I had my big twitch of oversteer. Yeah, these Porsches could be very quick. They could be a bit of a pain to drive. And as we came to the final lap, I was still leading the way. It wasn't all done yet, though. I'd used the last of my straights. You see how much I'm fighting the car through these corners, just trying to get that little bit more power down, because I know the Shelby is coming, and I know the Shelby is quick through these last corners, as again, he's closed up so much through here. One more turn to worry about in the Porsche. I fill all of the road by going sideways. It's a new defensive technique developed in this Porsche. It's just to slide it everywhere, and it was just enough. The Shelby didn't quite have enough time to find a way past. It was, yeah, a thoroughly enjoyable race, that one. Absolutely crazy Porsche. But, yeah, I managed to just about fend off by sliding through about every single corner. Fend off the Shelby Daytona. On to our final race. We went to the Road America West Alternate Circuit. Again, the game had been really kind to me in as far as starting positions go with my car, so I very quickly launched myself off into the lead. Another Porsche we're following here, mid-pack, made another good start. These things very, very quick off of the line as the field rushes its way down this first straight. Someone's already on the grass going sideways, as you do, down towards this next corner. This particular Porsche, again, much more handling orientated one, gets a great run through this corner, would pick off a 250 LM with the acceleration out of the turn. Again, as per normal, we were seeing the mid-pack shuffling themselves around, trying to make up every position they could. This Maserati had to try and go the long way around against a Ferrari. Couldn't make it stick at one corner, but a dive at the inside of this hairpin would get the job done. He also managed to dive past a Daytona that was struggling a little bit for grip at this point in the race. The Maserati then gets a little bit brave, tries to go around the outside of a Fiat 8V. That's not a best of places, and in the end just runs it a little too wide. It's not quite where you want to be. Maserati up ahead did exactly the same thing at that point. Yet again, a very familiar story was emerging for my Porsche. I was leading the way, and I had a Shelby Daytona all over the back of me. I basically spent most of my time defending. In these races, the Daytona goes to the inside, but again, if you can get up the inside there, it's not really going to matter. I'll out-accelerate him towards the final turn, and I'll hold the inside, and while, yeah, the Daytona was better through the corners, it wasn't that much better that he could do it. And then we've got the brutal acceleration of the Porsche. Once I can finally get the power down, again, you see how much my car was wiggling about Daytona's to the outside, and he can do it there. You can go around the outside of the first part. He'll be on the inside for the run down this next straight, and he keeps his car there for a while, but it just gets out-accelerated every time by my Porsche. Further back, we were seeing, again, a little bit more of a spread-out field. This one, there was a fairly high rate of attrition as well, with drivers making mistakes and the odd bump, and I think a couple of lag bumps and so on around the field. So we did lose a fair few cars throughout the course of this race. It did become a bit spread out. I think there was a car park of broken vehicles at one point towards the end. This 330 P4 was trying his best to fend off a Maserati. It's actually proven to be quite a hard track to be getting overtakes around. The Maserati gets a great run, but he's now going to be stuck on the outside as they come down towards the hairpin. It is possible to go around the outside there. You get the inside for the long corner, but it is a tough manoeuvre to do that one. The Maserati opting to try and do a cutback, still can't do anything about the P4, and that was something that we were seeing quite a lot of, just cars having trouble getting past. Daytona was still stuck up behind my Porsche. It was the silver Porsche, though, in third, that was absolutely flying. Again, another more handling-orientated build than my one was, the way to go. I knew my car was going to struggle when we came here. I was just about fending off the Daytona for a few laps, but I had to be absolutely on it. The Daytona goes for a big dive at the end of the straight. I'm kind of stuck on the outside again. Make the most of that Porsche acceleration. I do keep my position, but here comes the other Porsche. Daytona put a wheel on the grass, got the car slightly sideways. That gave the Porsche a relatively easy job of getting past him. The silver car, so much grip. He tries the outside, can't quite do it at that stage, but it was only really going to be a matter of time. Next corner, I get a huge slide on the exit, and sure enough, the other Porsche is up alongside. I've got that good acceleration, but when you're stuck on the outside of these slow turns in such a slidey car, as was my one, it didn't quite work. I'd have to concede the lead to him. I tried my best, just nothing I could quite do, even with him running on the grass. You can see the size of the gap he's made already back to us. There was a rather fantastic battle going on. It's over around about 5th place at this stage in the race, with a Maserati trying to hold off a 250 LM, while both of them were catching up to the back of the Shelby Daytona. The Daytona very quick through the corners, Maserati absolutely flying down the straights, and certainly the 250 LM wasn't that slow as they come into this big heavy braking zone. Maserati goes for a big dive up the inside, isn't going to get the car stopped. The Shelby will do a nice cutback, he'll take the position. Now the 250 LM's having a chance, tries to go around the outside, can't quite. Unfortunately, there's a Shelby in the way that part of the track, so the 250 LM has to back off a little bit. Now they're back to exactly how they were when they started the lap, near enough. The Maserati gets very close. It gives the Shelby a little bit of a bump. The Ferrari's sliding. There's a Jaguar very nearly out in the grass behind this lot. Ferrari's going to try to go around the outside, thinks better of it. Probably a wise decision in that instance. Again, he's stuck on the outside for the next corner, and the Maserati can't do anything about getting past the Shelby at this moment in time either. The Shelby's just too good through the corners as they come under braking for the hairpin, and everyone's just a little bit too far back. Shelby pushes his luck very wide. Maserati spots an opportunity to get the car up the inside. Can't do it though. Shelby's just got too much grip, and the Daytona would just about hold on to the position for now. At the front though, and it was the Porsche that would pretty much walk away with this one. The Shelby would get past me relatively quickly. As I said, my car was great for circuits with longer straights around here. I really struggled through the turns. These 718s were really very good cars. They were very competitive vehicles with this kind of class, despite being relatively low on power. If you built them for handling, such as this one, they were very good around the turns. If you went a little bit crazy like my one, could be very fast accelerating and in a straight line. Daytona's also proved to be very good cars, claiming second in both the second and third races. So I'm glad to see the Shelbys doing well in this, of course. And further back, as we were coming towards the end of the race, this grey Daytona was having a great fight with a 250 GTO. In the end, he would lose out to the Maserati and 250 LM, but he was trying to find a way back past this GTO. Has a look around the outside at the hairpin. This is what I was talking about. You can do it if you can keep your car there. If you can keep it alongside, you'll get up the inside for the really long final turn. It was close. He tries to go around the outside of the final turn. That's a brave manoeuvre. It is not very often that you see that manoeuvre pull off. He got very close to doing it, but in the end, the Shelby would have to settle for the position. Good effort, though, trying to go around the outside of the final turn. Anyway, that is it for this week's FailRace versus the community. These rather expensive classic race cars were quite a lot of fun to go racing with. Thought they might be a little bit scarier than they actually were. Turns out, yeah, we had quite a lot of close racing. Certainly for my Porsche, that was involved with lots of battles for the lead. The next versus the community shall be held on Thursday, the 10th of March. We are going to be racing B-Class four-wheel drive cars. If you would like to sign up and take part in that event, then you can via our forums. There will be a link in the description. Find the FailRace versus the community section, and you'll be able to sign up in there. But that is it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.